Hey everybody, Kevin here from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another installment in our Kevin Figures Out series where I figure out if I like a certain band in the scene or not that I'm not that well versed in. And today, it's the Ukrainian metalcore band, Jinjer. Before we get started, please follow MSOTD Rocks on places like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you will get all our content from the 30-second song of the day clips, which is a good way to get in the know with bands in the scene coming up, along with bands that are established, just basically broaden your music horizons. We also talk to all those platforms, announce anytime anything comes out with the podcast, YouTube videos, anything it might be. And on our Instagram page, we also have our IGTV videos, which come out every single Tuesday night, which is a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on here or certain thoughts that we have. And our Wednesday live streams always happen at 9 p.m. Central Time. It's an hour, sometimes a little bit more. And we just have fun asking questions, talking back and forth. It's an open platform kind of thing. Also, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, as well as we do not only do these Kevin Figures Out videos, we do album reviews, top 10 videos special to emerging bands in the scene today. And of course, as we're closing out 2020 right now, the year-end awards are coming up, and there's going to be a lot of controversy around these, I know, because these are our opinions, specifically my opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and then you guys get my thoughts on those as well. So please make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you're ready for those. And this channel is also where the Chord Progression podcast lives. It is our very own podcast where we are interviewing the emerging bands in the scene today. We've had great conversations with bands like Ra, The Dev, Salt, Nothing More, Ego Kill Talent. I mean, you name it, we've done it, and we're going to keep providing more. Episodes come out every single Tuesday and Thursday. You can find those episodes and watch them here on YouTube, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and iHeart Radio. Links in the description below for everything, so follow, share, like, subscribe, whatever it might be. Let's get on with it. Before I jump in to figure out if I like Jinjer or not, a little bit of a background so you guys know where I'm coming from. When it comes to Jinjer, I really don't know much about them outside of two things. One is the fact that I have been watching a number of YouTube reactors react on Pisces by Jinjer, so I know the song and I know Tatiana's vocal range. And there's a couple that I absolutely love. Take a look at Alex Hefner, who, when he heard that change up in the vocal, was stunned in sheer silence. Guy like D. Gibby had no idea what the hell was going on.
That's not her.
And of course, two of my favorites, the two rockin' grannies, they just absolutely loved it. And one of the grannies just absolutely freaked. I think it was, is it Nana King? I think it was. Yeah, if I got that wrong, meh, whatever.
Uh-oh, here we go. Oh my God!
And I always love watching that because it's just such a different transition. So it was so much fun to watch. And in May of 2020, before the shutdown happened, it was planned that Jinjer was going to come here and play in Milwaukee. And what I wanted to do was, I wanted to go to that show because, again, Ukrainian metalcore, I knew about Pisces before, and I didn't know much about the other stuff. I'm like, you know what, I want to get in there, and I kind of want to start to learn more about the band because, you know, I want to know if it's a band that I can absolutely go and mosh to, and when concerts do come back in 2021, hopefully, that's something that can happen. So that's why I want to figure out if I like Jinjer or not. So this is how it's going to happen. First, I'm going to go through their 3 studio albums and talk about what I like about them, what I dislike about them, and try and figure out what I like about their music. Second, I'm going to go through the band's image and their gimmick. Gimmick basically being, you know, what they're doing, and see if that's something I can really get behind. Third, I'm looking at the community of fans and see how that relates and see if I can really become part of that community of fans, if it's something that I stay away from or if something I'm more neutral to. And then last but not least, I'm going to go and say my final verdict on if I like Jinjer or not. So let's get on with it. Alright, first things first, I got to listen to some of this music, so please wait. Alrighty, now that that's done, let's talk. So the first thing I'm going to start with is Cloud Factory. Now, Cloud Factory came out initially back in 2014, but if you look on Spotify, it looks like it came out in 2018, and I looked it up as because it was a re-release in 2018. However, its original release in 2014, so I'm going to start out with Cloud Factory. Yeah, I do my research on these. So when I first listened to the album, what I first thought of this album was Jinjer was trying to really find what their core sound was going to be and what really made them on this first album. And what I found out was they really found out that their identity as a band was all based around Tatiana's vocal range. Yes, you're gonna get those clean, angelic style vocals, but then you're gonna get some raw, heavy, unclean vocals that are sometimes even more viscerating than a lot of the guys in the metalcore scene as well. And then taking a look at the instrumentation, one thing I really connected with was I saw that they were really finding that metalcore and also prog metal bass at the same time, but they were willing to experiment with a couple of different styles like thrash metal, some punk rock as well, and then like a more melodic ballad type feel throughout this. So they had found a little bit of their bass and they were trying different things to really play around it. So they were trying to figure out what it was, and I think they did on this album. So where did this go right in my opinion? Let's take a look at the song No Horde in Value. And when I looked at this song, one thing that really stood out to me was it was a little bit of a faster paced song than what Jinjer had really gone with. And the clean vocals really did stand out over that with a little bit of faster pace from Tatiana. But then when Tatiana went unclean, the instrumentation went a lot harder, but it didn't go brutally hard to drown out Tatiana. And I thought that was a great move because, again, you're having the substance behind the music within that instrumentation that's going hard, and it's complementing what Tatiana's doing with her vocals, but it's not just, putting her as the focal point either. It's a great mixture in there, and that's what I like about this track. Another song I really like is, I'm gonna look down and make sure I get this right, it's Jleu Znachit Polunchu. If I really butcher that, I'm sorry, but I really like this track because they take that heavy metal, metalcore kind of sound, mix it more with a punk rock feel, especially listen to how hard they hit that snare. It has more of this primal, untuned kind of feel, and it really has that fast-paced energy to carry it through. Plus, Tatiana's unclean vocals really just power through this track are absolutely incredible. It's a great play here in the mixture with that metalcore style and focusing more on the hardcore punk sense of it to really keep this absolute energetic track in there. I'm a big fan of this. When you take a look at a track like a Plus or Minus, this is where I see is more middle of the road for me, where you had these fast transitions with different clean and unclean vocals in the intro. And I wasn't the biggest fan of this because it really made the song not find its footing until much later on. So it was really hard to get into, but when it did find its footing, I really did like it because the melodic chorus is contrasted well against the harder verses on this track. So you got that classic, more Jinjer construction with harder verses, melodic choruses to really kind of play off each other. But that beginning part really kind of drew me back and was like, I'm a little trouble getting into this. Where I didn't really care for this album is, let's take a look at a song like Bad Water, where it has this more anthemic ballad style to it. And while I do respect what Jinjer did here, and take a look at Tatiana's vocals with the clean vocal style that she has, it was absolutely powerful and melodic to really work out here. However, listening to the rest of the album through and through, it had this certain anger, this certain eviscerating feel to it, and this song really ended. I get where the contrast comes in. I get this could easily stand alone on its own, but when you listen to the album through and through, this just doesn't have its place really in that album, in my opinion. So there's something really missing there in my opinion. But again, that's really more in an album playthrough kind of run. So overall, what do I think about Cloud Factory? Well, I think the band really did find their sound with that core metalcore and prog metal sound to it, in addition to being able to play off with some other types of influence, specifically hardcore punk, which was my absolute favorite on this album. However, the biggest thing is they found that backbone to their music, which is Tatiana's vocal range. When you're able to mix a lot of what Tatiana did on this album and just see where it goes, there's so much more you can do with it. It opens up a world of possibilities within that metalcore and prog metal realm, which you can experiment with. But it has to be done right. So I saw them do it right on sometimes, in my opinion, and some other times wasn't the biggest fan on. So we'll see what happens when we get to the next album. Now going on to their second album, King of Everything, which came out in 2016. And when I listened to this, everything I said about Cloud Factory, where I hoped it was going to go, in terms of that experimentation, doing it right, really focusing on Tatiana as the backbone of the band with her vocal range, they did that on this album with King of Everything. And what really made it special was because you saw everything that Tatiana was able to do with the clean vocals and these super duper viscerating, manly, just raw, unclean vocals. I say masculine, unclean vocals. And that mixture just allows for so much. Plus the band used that core, more metalcore and prog metal sound and played a lot with it, so where there's different pacings, different tones to it. They had higher reverbs on the guitars. They brought in some different influences as well. And it really made a full dynamic album in the end, and I gotta say, for the most part of it, I really did like it. There are 4 songs on King of Everything that really do stand out to me, and one is the Prologue coming in right at the beginning. And why I like this is because you get some real primal drumming, I mean heavy on the toms, and you listen to the strings and they go heavy, but you have this like Egyptian, more Middle Eastern influence in there. And listening to Tatiana's vocals, they're clean, but they vary in pace. And I love this because it really gets you ready for your album where it's like, it's not gonna be as much as Cloud Factory was, but there's gonna be more experimentation on here, but you're gonna still get that core, and the experimentation is really gonna play off on their strengths. So I'm really excited for this. And it all started with Prologue. On Sit, Stay, Roll Over, I like this because you get this brutally fast-paced metalcore style in the beginning, but when you listen to the drumming on this is where it really takes key, because there's a consistent hit on the snare like there's a lot of times in punk rock. And why I absolutely love this is because you get this energetic feel throughout the whole entire song, and it absolutely works. When you look at Tatiana's vocals, I love her vocals on the chorus on this because they're clean, they're smooth, and they really play well in contrast to what the rest of the instrumentation is doing. It brings out both parts of the best. But when she transitions out of that with some super duper unclean vocals, yeah, it works out beautifully. Under the Dome was a really interesting thing for me because it started out with this more gothic intro style with a metalcore style, and it had a heavy use on the cymbals. But what this really did well was to lead us into what the guitar was going to do on this portion of the song, because as the guitar went on, it was heavy, but it had this high reverb feel. So what really matched it well with this gothic style, and I thought of it was a stroke of genius. Plus Tatiana mostly going unclean on this really did work out well because that gothic feel gave this song more of a dark feel to it, like there's something else behind it creeping around the corner. And why I really like this is because it just matched the vibe of the song so well. And then, of course, Pisces. Who can talk about this album and not talk about Pisces is a great gem, because you listen to the beginning part of the song and it's just so smooth, so melodic, so flowing with clean vocals from Tatiana. And then you get this like nasty chorus, which is again melodic, but it's heavy. And those vocals that are just super duper clean and carry the whole entire thing. I mean, I swear, if you didn't know it was all Tatiana, you'd think that they have multiple vocalists, but no, it's just her. It is absolutely insane. So if you haven't checked out Pisces yet, guys, what the hell are you doing? You gotta go check out this song. Two songs where I really think this album kind of stumbled. One was I Speak Astronomy, and they really went with more of an electronic soundscape and have a high reverb on the guitar to really get more of that cosmic kind of feel to it. And I have seen this work out in metalcore, and for me it's real hit or miss. And this one, it just didn't necessarily hit well because a lot of the anger that I saw on this album kind of was just not there in a sense. So it really didn't fit for me in overall. And then Dip a Sail as well, where it had that gothic feel and also had a very consistent heavy hit on the snare as well. So we got a mixture of a couple of songs here like Sit, Stay, Roll Over and Under the Dome. However, where I got lost with this song was because it didn't have just the impact that those other two did. So it just kind of isn't a bad song in my opinion, it just gets washed out. Overall though, when it comes to King of Everything, this album is absolutely incredible. It takes in what Cloud Factory was trying to do once again and really perfects on it. It looks at Tatiana and uses her vocal range as the absolute backbone for this album. And it shows that you can go with these melodic, clean, soothing, angelic styles as well. But then you can get really, really freaking hard with it when Tatiana goes with these demonic screams. It is absolutely perfect in transition. And when you take a look at the instrumentation, there's a lot of times where they try different things as well with their metalcore prog metal style. Again, bringing some more punk rock, bringing some electronic soundscapes, trying with these high reverb guitars as well. Again, there's times where it's hit or miss, but most times it was either hit or something where it just didn't resonate well with me. However, it wasn't anything that was bad. So I'm pretty impressed by this album. I really liked it. So their third album, Macro, came out in the year 2019, and what I was expecting from Macro was a lot of what I was expecting on King of Everything. And it was, again, Tatiana being the driving force behind what is going on here, and the instrumentation staying within that prog metal, metalcore style, but then trying some new things as well, because that's where a lot of the different sounds come in, and you're really able to work off of that with how much range Tatiana has on her vocal style. And in the end, we really got just that, and we got some things that were more industrial based, which is a huge thing in metalcore, especially in the 2010s, like 2019, 2020. You know, right now I say late 2010s, or turn of the decade, let's put it that way. They really want some different pacing as well, and of course they brought in some more punk rock influences. So they're definitely found what works for them, which is that metalcore prog metal style with Tatiana's vocal range really being the backbone and really just being the driving force of what they can do, and being willing to experiment to really bring all that out. So they have a wide array which they can go, and they're continuing to explore that on Macro. So were there songs that like what I heard? Absolutely. Take a look at a song called On the Top, where when the metalcore comes in, it does have that more industrial metalcore mix feel. Something very similar to what Architects pulled out in 2018's Holy Hell. And you listen to Tatiana's vocals, and again, they're hard, they're brutal, they really bring out the energy in there. Then you go to the chorus, it's melodic, it's clean, there's a big contrast there. It's a very consistent thing I found in Jinjer's music, but it really does work out well, and it works out well on this song once again. We're going to go to Judgment and Punishment as the next track because it has this more experimental, melodic, clean, alt-rock electronic feel to it. I know I threw a lot of words in there. And it really is interesting because this is something that's more experimental from Jinjer. There are times where they do transition and go hard with the metalcore as well. Again, a little bit more melodic sense as well. And it's really interesting that they can pull that off. But the key is how Tatiana's vocal range really allows them to do this and does this flawlessly. So I was a big fan of this going forward. I was happy with this. Were there times this album really didn't work out for me? And yeah, there were a couple times. Take a look at Pit of Consciousness where it really felt like exactly what On the Top was doing, but it just didn't have the power in Tatiana's vocals to really bring everything out, in my opinion. So it wasn't a bad song in my mind, but it just really didn't fit as well as On the Top did, especially coming after it in the overall track list. It kind of is like On the Top, but a little bit watered down. And then the last song, INERP, or I can't remember how to pronounce it exactly, I know I'm gonna mess it up. They do this more piano ballad style song, which is very interesting. You're gonna get a more melodic style track to it. And I'm really impressed by this because I can think Tatiana can really do something with this. However, her vocals were really disappointing to me, and that's because they felt more choked up, they felt more pulled back, and I was not a fan of that at all because it just sounded like it was a misfire. If you would let Tatiana just fully express herself and just go full for it, holy crap, would have been something amazing. I mean, my God, it would have been amazing. Overall, though, when it comes to macro, again, I saw what I was expecting from Jinjer, where it was using Tatiana's vocal range to really expand the sound and really let the instrumentals in this prog metal, more metalcore style really expand itself. But the biggest thing that I was looking at on this was, you know, maybe there's some times where it didn't necessarily work out. However, the times where it didn't work out, it wasn't like they completely missed the mark. It was just like a couple of things here and there. So, is this a good album? I still think it is. I think even the times when they missed, they didn't miss by much, and it shows what they can do going forward. So in the end, do I like Jinjer's music? And the answer, I believe, is obviously yes. And because you take a look at Tatiana's vocal range, there's so much going on with the clean side where you can go super melodic, you can work in a faster paced style to it, and then you can go with the super duper visceral, primal, raw, unclean kind of style, which is absolutely powerful. And my God, she's better unclean than a lot of the guys out there too, which is absolutely amazing. And then take a look at the instrumentation behind it with that prog metal, metalcore bass. It does work to bring in the heaviness as well, but it also allows you to experiment with Tatiana's vocals. And they experiment sometimes, especially like punk rock, thrash metal, sometimes with high reverb guitar. And let me tell you, when they hit, they absolutely hit. But when they miss on that experimentation, they don't miss by much, to the point where they can try it again really easily and really hit on it. So this is a band definitely for their sound. Oh yeah, I'm in. So now it's time to take a look at Jinjer's image and gimmick. And this is going to be a little bit of an interesting one because when it comes down to their image and gimmick, I'm not getting something that's super duper clear cut to figure out, similar to someone like Baby Metal with the Kawaii Metal style, or Ice Nine Kills with the whole entire horror base. But in other bands I have reacted to and tried to figure out, like Reflections and 1000 Below, there really wasn't anything there to set them apart from the norm image-wise. However, Jinjer doesn't necessarily fall fully in that. And the reason I say is because when I really looked at them, it wasn't anything from the band, it was more what Tatiana was doing. So when you take a look at the rest of the band, I mean, it's pretty much clear cut. But Tatiana, as the front of the band, that image really kind of reflects on what the band's about. So I gotta talk about that specifically to really figure this out. When it came to the image from Tatiana on the music videos and the live shows, yeah, I got a completely different feel from it. When I took a look at the music videos, I really got this gothic feel that was added to it, where you got a lot of dark clothing, you got a lot of like gauges, the septum piercing, and you also got very flowing movements. And I've seen this on a lot of female artists that are really in that gothic subculture. Think Maria Brink and Ash Costello specifically. So I can really see where more of that darker kind of feel comes into Jinjer's style. However, seeing them play live with live videos, holy crap, did I get something completely different. Were those gothic styles and movements in there? Yes, absolutely. However, the energy from Tatiana was absolutely incredible. Headbanging, going nuts, just really energetic, flying around stage. This was something I wasn't necessarily expecting, especially taking a look at those other ones that I described, with Maria Brink being much more theatrical, and Ash Costello, I mean, she does bring the energy on stage, but from what I saw in live videos, it's more of a stagnant energy where she's not going to be moving around like crazy like Tatiana was. So I got something completely different from their image as well, from both the music videos and the live performances. So this is an interesting one. This is a really interesting one to figure out if I like or not. And it's due to the fact that, again, it's not clear cut and it's not just anything. Like, there's something there, but it's not very fully a part of it. And honestly, that's why I really like Jinjer's image and Gimmick, because again, it all derives from Tatiana. It has this darker, little bit more of a dingier gothic vibe to it, from especially taking a look at the music videos. But the energy from the live shows is something completely different. So when it comes down to their image, I absolutely love it and their gimmick, because it kind of gives them an identity from other bands, but it allows them to do so much with it, and it allows them for their music to be so experimental at times as well. Because, like we said in the music, they have times they can pull from all these different subcategories. They have times they can go punk a little bit more. They have times they can go melodic with some bells. They can go high reverb guitars. They can pull out all this stuff with Tatiana's vocal range and with her style as well, and especially with her movements. Holy crap, do you get a lot from this band, where their range is immensely big. I said immensely, massively big. My bad, guys. But yeah, so when it comes to their image, am I a fan of it? Yup. So now I have to go to the community of fans to see if I can really get a part in this. And for this one, you guys know I always go to places like social media and Reddit as well. And when it came to social media, I'm going to lump Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all into this, because it's all very interesting. Because when I looked at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook had about 228,000 followers at the time of shooting this, Twitter only about 13,500, and Instagram about 313,000. What I saw when they posted on all three platforms was pretty much the same stuff across everything. Even though they posted about once or twice, every day or two. Again, I get it. They're continually putting out content for their fans. However, it's the same stuff on all those platforms. I can see why Twitter is not getting the engagement, because I didn't really see a lot of engagement back and forth with the fans. And when the fans commented on stuff, it was a lot of emoji-driven stuff, or a lot of praise for the band as well. So it was a lot of just positivity, a lot of fluff, I would say, on that. So I was like, not getting much from this. Let's go to Reddit and see what happens. Now with Reddit, it was completely different from the social media sites of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because I looked at a lot of subreddits, the Jinjer subreddit, the metalcore subreddit, and they asked a lot of questions about Jinjer. But the main questions that they asked about Jinjer were about what they were doing with their music and what to expect from Jinjer. So when it came to the music, people were asking why they went a certain way, what people thought about their music, especially on like an album like Macro. And I saw some criticism there, but there was the type of criticism I love to see from fans, where they explain their position, but they give all the context behind it, even in the question. And then the answers to that question even gave you more context. No one was yelling at each other. Everyone was just trying to get everyone to understand where they were coming from. That's the type of kind of conversation I love seeing when it comes to talking about bands, because holy crap, you're going to get so much of a different perspective. It's amazing. Even go on to what you're going to get from the questions like, what do I expect to see when I go see Jinjer live? And people really told you how much fun you're gonna have, but also what to expect with mosh pits, with different styles in the crowd. I mean, it was it was massively huge. What else can I say? It was great. I absolutely loved every bit about their fans on Reddit. Every bit of it. Now when it comes to Tatiana as well, especially on social media, not her stuff, but seeing how fans react to her stuff. I've seen fans react to stuff in more of like a fanatical way, where people are talking about her like, oh my god, you're perfect. Yas, queen, like that kind of stuff. So I'm like, there is some sort of this fascination there. I even heard women talk about, if they were to go for women, that they would totally go for Tatiana, and they all have crushes on Tatiana, for those people that say that. And also, I've heard her say on other podcasts that some people have given them some really weird fan gifts, like jewelry made out of bones. So that is really interesting. But when it comes down to it, is this a fandom that I can really get into? And I'm going to say this is middle of the road, where it's something I'm not going to really fully jump into, but it's not something I'm going to really pull back from, because when it comes down to it, what I like about it is the fans that are on Reddit that were completely just explanatory and just really got in deep with everything in their answers. I absolutely love that part. But when it comes to some of the stuff they're doing on social media, again, there's not a lot there when it comes to the differentiation between Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and not a lot of engagement there. So I'm like, okay, that's more middle of the road. But some of the fanatical stuff with Tatiana, I've seen that happen with bands like in this moment, especially with Maria Brink, with Mother Maria, and with Baby Metal as well, and I just cannot get into that myself. So again, this is where it's going to come middle of the road for me. So more like flatline. So now time for the final verdict. And do I like Jinjer when I figured it out? The answer is absolutely yes. And it all stems from the music once again, because when you take a listen to the music, I mean, you're going to get Tatiana again to be the backbone of this band with her vocal range and style. And the fact the band uses more prog metal, metalcore mix as their base for the instrumentation, it allows them to do so many different things because of the range that Tatiana's vocals have. And when they experiment with stuff, like I said earlier, like on Macro, there's times when they absolutely hit, there's times when they miss, but when they miss by this much, and they can do it again, and they can really make something incredibly well. And even their image, which is a little bit of an image, not as crazy as something like Baby Metal has, but not as something as, you know, not necessarily there like bands I've reacted like Thousand Below and Reflections. There's something there, but that also drives what they're able to do as well, and it gives more of this darker, gothic-y feel to it that they can work off of, and they don't have to work off it as well. There's a lot of times when they don't have to. It works out incredibly well, and that's what I really like about this band. So in the end, do I like Jinjer? Answer is yes. That's me for you today, guys. Thank you for watching this video. This is Kevin from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel. You guys know I end with the hat flip. Nope, see y'all.